Optimism takes its prompt from the prominence of outer space in New Zealand at the moment and highlights things that I think people find really exciting, like where do we live in the future, what is out of the worlds that we live in now, and the way that we think about where we are and where we want to be. I'm an artist who looks at technology and people that make technology a lot and often have a lot of power in terms of deciding where we can go as a group of people. Technology companies in particular will think of great ideas and then describe them in a document so that they can own the idea. That's like a kind of international patenting system. And I was looking at the documents that Rocket Lab and the founder Peter Beck had filed in the last 10 years or so. And I found these amazing patents for fuel systems for rockets. And I was looking at the drawings describing those objects and they looked like spaceships to me. And I started to look at images like NASA images of what space colonies looked like to artists in the 1960s on thinking about space colonies and living in space. And I found similar shapes and forms. So I thought, okay, wouldn't it be amazing to take these Rocket Lab patent drawings and make a sculpture that responds to them? So what I've done is I've made kind of giant blow-up versions printed out of 3D print, which is a technology that's actually very important to the space industry at the moment and taking it further, and made these giant hanging sculptures that really look like kind of, I don't know, giant spaceships or UFOs here in the atrium space.
Something that you don't really see from the outside but is quite complicated is this dome on the top of UFO 1 here. There's a whole internal structure that's missing and you can't see. As is with all these parts, they all have internal geometry that actually gives them strength and keys them together. Yeah, it looks really simple, but the sort of machine settings and I suppose R&D, trial and error and testing that have gone into this are far from simple. We did actually print 1 to 10 scale prototypes first. And so we had these things that we could sit down on our desks and turn them and visualize them and see what we would need to do. Printing was around 6 days a week, 3 machines running for about 3 months in total. Quite a long time. Those base parts that you see around the outside, those are divided into 40 pieces, and each of those pieces is about 10 to 11 hours to print. You know, the dome pieces, those are also 40 pieces, and those are maybe 8 or 9 hours. And seeing them in the space now is awesome.
As well as kind of giant, beautiful, white shining sculptures hanging in the space, they're also kind of like anchors for an animated experience using augmented reality. So if you take an iPad or an iPhone, you kind of walk into beams that are kind of positioned around the atrium space. When you kind of hit those beams and look up into the sculptures, you can see windows into particular worlds. And I've extrapolated people and buildings and landscapes for those worlds that are kind of based on those historical NASA images, but also on more recent kind of images produced around space and produced around presenting and building new societies. And I've drawn on some of New Zealand's history to also inform some of these worlds and projections, you know, from one existing colony into other potentially existent colonies.
My role was the computer-generated parts of this work. So basically designing together with Simon the result of these white sculptures, what they really stand for, and then also programming the whole application that shows you that in real time. We tried really working with the state-of-the-art technology and pushing it to its limits. All these AR applications, it's more or less wanted that you have 90% real space and 10% happening somewhere, you know, like an object on the table. But what we did is a bit more broad. We really have these moments where the whole scenery basically fades away, and people would call it VR then, because there's no real reality that you could augment. And this transition was very interesting. That was maybe the most challenging part.
I'm incredibly delighted to have you return to Tāmaki with this project, Simon. It sits at the heart of the gallery where our visitors glide through. I can't think of a better way of closing off the year than to speculate on the shape of the future with the work that brings conscience, the brain, the senses, and entertainment all engaged.
My fantasy about the future and my curiosity about the future and people that design things that kind of shape possible futures came from my own experience of like living with and needing technology for everything, you know. I grew up here, but when I moved away in the mid-2000s, it was a time of kind of a lot of seemingly fast technological change. I took my computer with me, and my computer was my portal to my home, my entertainment world, my research facility, and I just thought, wow, this object and the people that design this object are so important for the way that I'm shaping my world. And who gets to do that? And why is it these people? And what are they like? And what informs their decisions about designing those systems that I live under? So I hope people, when they come and see the gallery and see the sculptures, I hope that provokes a kind of a curiosity to see what these strange hanging megastructures are and what they might be and what they might mean. And then hopefully if people get all the way into kind of accessing the augmented reality layer, I hope that also people start to think about like what kind of worlds they want. Are these inspiring places that I want to live? Should those places look different? Do I want to be the author of one of those future spaces, or do I feel that I trust the people that are making them to do the fantastic job that they're already doing?